Hi students, welcome to Plus One Computer class. Hope you all are fine and safe. We are discussing about internet and mobile computing, the various terminologies that we are using in internet. So in the previous video we discussed about the concepts like how we are sharing internet access sharing method and the wireless broadband connectivities. The commonly used wireless broadband connectivities are mobile broadband, cable network or cable WiMAX, satellite broadband. Then internet access sharing method means there are three methods using LAN connection, then Wi-Fi and also Li-Fi. So that these all are belonging to how we are sharing the internet and how we are establishing a wireless broadband connectivity. Okay, so these all are based on the connectivity levels. So next we are going to discuss the applications of this internet services. That means the first topic was how we are services on internet. What are the different services on internet? So in this video we will discuss the 4 different services on internet. The first service was World Wide Web. Then after that, the different types of web browsers, then web browsing and also search engine. These 4 services we are going to discuss in this section. So the first service of internet is WWW or full form is World Wide Web. World Wide Web. What is it? World Wide Web. Then we already studied the history of internet. In the history of internet, a scientist's name we already studied. Okay, then in introduction of the actual introduction of internet starts with ARPANET. After ARPANET, it changed to Milnet. Milnet is used for military purposes. Okay, that means at that time networks are not so much famous because all the users are using network for their personal purpose. Then after some time, a scientist called Tim Berners-Lee introduced a concept called World Wide Web that lead to the development of internet. Okay, that leads to the development of internet, interconnection of network all over the world. Then we already know www is a part of URL. For example, we can write a URL www.dhskerala.gov.in. Here www.dhskerala.gov.in. This is known as domain name of a URL. In this domain name, some of the extensions are available that is called .in. That means this website is belonging to India, and after that .gov. It's a government website. Okay, what is it? It's a government website. So according to the domain name, we can easily identify or we can easily recognize a particular URL or that particular website. So all the website address starts with www because universally this website can access by the user from any place all over the world. www is belonging to that concept. That means this website is belonging to wide area network or WAN. This is one of the most important service of internet, World Wide Web. As a part of URL, we can identify www stands means universally we can access this. The World Wide is a system of interlinked hypertext document. So here dhskerala.gov.in. This is a website. For the creation of website, we require so many web pages. So this World Wide Web is belonging to the category of hypertext document. What is the full form of HTML? We already know hypertext markup language. So for accessing that kind of web pages, we can make use of the service www. Then actually it is a big infrastructure in internet. All the web pages are interconnected using this service called World Wide Web. Then each server maintains a huge amount of data. That means in internet we are using client server mechanism. Client server means that means suppose we are accessing a web page, we all are clients. Okay, we all are known as clients. So clients is interacting with the server for accessing some of the information. So when we are accessing information from the server, we want to give a request. So that request is known as URL. In the form of a request or in the form of a URL, we are sending the request to the main computer or the server computer. So if the URL is correct, we are getting that same web page. If any mistake in the URL, we will not get, they will list some of that means similar website related to this name. Okay, then a browser is responsible. Suppose we are doing any of the activities in internet. Definitely we require a web browser. You want to install a web browser in your computer first. Then through that web browser we are accessing information from the website. For example, Internet Explorer. Okay, this was the oldest web browser. Some of the JavaScript programs, that means some of the famous website will not work in Internet Explorer. Okay, that means Explorer will not support JavaScript. But other browsers like Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, these all will execute JavaScript codes. Okay, clear? Then that is the first service. It is known as www. Okay. Then next service, browser. Then for connecting a computer with internet, we require NIC card, then a proper net connection, and the third important thing is you want to install one web browser in your computer. Actually, web browser is act as an intermediate between the user and internet. Through the web browser, we are accessing web pages. Okay, through the browser we are accessing web pages. For example, if Chrome is present, we double click on the Google Chrome, then we will get the Google web page. Okay, main page we will get. In that page there will be one box that is known as search box. We can type the URL or the text that we know, whatever it is we can type, and when we click on go button we will get, or this browser will navigate. Actually browser Google Chrome is there. What is the duty of Google Chrome? To access internet. So when we double click on Google Chrome, it will open the Google web page. That means search engine that we will discuss next. So the browser means it acts as an intermediate, or it is a path between the user and internet. Okay, then commonly used web browsers: Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, then Opera Mini, UC browser. So many web browsers are there. So we can make use of any of the web browsers for accessing internet. Okay. Then a web browser is a software that we use to retrieve to present information and to navigate through web pages in the World Wide Web. Then one more term is there, that is called browsing internet. Okay, we will go to internet cafe for browsing internet. We will use the term browsing. Browsing means we can go from one web page to another to get the information. For example, suppose you want to collect some of the information from the internet. So we can go to the internet cafe, or otherwise we can make use of your mobile phone or whatever it is, we can make use of it. But a proper net connection should be there. Then suppose we don't know the exact location. You want to get some of the information from different kinds of website. So we can check other website. For example, suppose you want to collect some of the information, or suppose you want to get an admission in any of the colleges to a particular course. So we can search in different places or different colleges. We can compare different colleges, their facilities. So we can compare that information according to our information, or according to our choice, we can compare it. Okay, so these all are searching different web pages to acquiring information is known as browsing, web browsing. Okay, so that is also another concept in web browser. That means the document to be displayed is identified using a URL. A URL consists of its DNS name and the file name to be retrieved. It also specifies the protocol for transferring. Normally, we want to type the URL. Some of the cases we will type along with the protocol like this, http:// and also we can type, if you know the exact file name, we can type the file name also. If we don't know the exact file name, then just type the URL, and after that we can select the information from that particular website. So that is web browsing and also web browser. Then another concept, so when we double click on web browser, for example, if it is Google Chrome, we will get a web page. Definitely it will be Google homepage. In that Google homepage, there will be one text box will be there. In text box, we can type the URL and we can go for click on go button and it will search. So that concept is known as web browsing. So web browsing is a third service provided by the internet. What does mean by web browsing, or what will happen when we are executing the web browser? For example, this is the client software. Client. It may be a computer or it may be a mobile phone, whatever it is, any of the device that is using internet service. And this is a DNS server. This is the DNS server, and one more is the web server. Okay, so three terms. First one, client. Client means your mobile phone or computer. It will be act as client. Then, suppose you want to visit a particular URL or particular website. All of us visited website, entering the website URL into the web browser, and then using the hyperlink, it moved through any of the different web pages. Then, here I am going to discuss the major operation. That means when you search for a particular web page, we are getting the response. So by this I am going to explain what happened when you are searching a particular web page. What has happened internally in network service provider. So when we click, suppose I type some of the URL, then what will happen? In client system, there will be a browser. Web browser. Okay, browser will send the ISP, Internet Service Provider, ISP's DNS. Then this is known as DNS server. DNS server means, I already mentioned, in the URL .gov.in will be present. That means the code along with their information will be available in this DNS server. Okay, then web server, we are accessing information from internet. So this is the main web server. So first you type the URL in the client or in the browser. Then what will happen? The browser will send, when we type any of the URL, at the execution time, the URL will convert to corresponding IP address. So the IP address will be available in DNS web server or DNS server. So the client will request the IP address from DNS. Okay, client will request IP address from DNS. So that is the first step. The browser determines the URL. That means the URL that we entered. For example, www.dhse.com. That is the URL that we entered. Then the browser then send the request to the DNS server. We only know the URL. So the client want to identify the corresponding IP address. So again, the DNS server will return the IP address to the client. Okay, so instead of URL, now browser got the IP address. After that, the ISP's DNS server replies with the IP address. So this is the DNS server. It will return the IP address. Then, fourth step, the browser makes a TCP connection to the web server at that IP address. Then, so now IP address is with the browser. Then browser will send a request to the web server, or it establish a TCP or IP connection. TCP or IP connection means Transmission control protocol or internet protocol. It establish a connection with web server to get the information regarding the IP address returned by the DNS server. Okay, that means if it is dhse.kerala.gov.in, that connection will send to web server. Okay, then after that, if the IP address found by the web server, it returns the file. It returns the file to browser. If the URL is invalid, then DNS can't identify the corresponding URL and it will return a negative acknowledgement message. Negative acknowledgement message means the data transmission is not taken place. Then after getting the IP address, the browser will send or browser will establish a connection. Web server is known as the central server computer. The entire web page will be present in this web server. Then if a proper connection is established with browser and also web server, it will return the file, and after that we are getting the web page that we searched. This is happen when we are executing the web browsing. Clear? So this is known as web browsing. What does mean by web browsing? How we are interacting or how we are accessing web pages from web server. In your textbook, this definition and also the steps are already given. Please read your textbook. Pictorial representation also present. Then, next one, search engines. Search engines. Okay, if we know the exact URL, we can make use of web browsing service. If we know the exact URL. If we don't know the exact URL, for example, suppose I want to get some of the information regarding Abacus or any of the engine like Holaris engine, Holaris machine or Pascaline engine, whatever it is, then we don't know the exact site. From which site we will get the information. At that time, we can make use of search engine. Okay, examples of search engines are Yahoo, Google, Bing. These all are different search engines. Then, when we click on Google Chrome, we will get Google homepage. In Google homepage, there will be one search box present. Inside that search box, we can type the text that or the entire text we can type. Otherwise, the part of the text we can type. And click on go button. Then what will happen? We will get some of the web pages that contain information relating to that topic. Definitely the first one will be from Wikipedia. Okay, so we can make use of that site. Otherwise we can make use of other websites. Okay, we can make use of any of the site. So actually what happen in search engine is there will be a special technology behind this website. Search engine website use program called web crawlers or spider or robot. Okay, search engine created or search engine website use a program called web crawlers or spiders or robots for searching a web page from millions of web pages. So many web pages are available in internet. From that website we are accessing only one web page. So the duties belonging to this particular software. Then web crawlers search the web pages stored in different web servers. All these are stored in separate web server. So the web crawlers or spiders will collect the web pages from that particular web servers. The search engine website stores these keywords along with their URL to form an index in search engine's web server. When we use a search engine website to search a particular item, if the term present in the search engine, automatically it will accept that, otherwise it will search in other web servers. The commonly used search engines are Google, Bing, Yahoo search, Ask, etc. Okay, Ask, then Bing, Google, Yahoo, these all are the different types of search engines. Okay, so hope you understood the different terminologies taking place in search engine. Okay, then Hope you understood the concept. So again we will revise the topics that we studied. So we started with the different services of internet. We started with www, World Wide Web. Then after that, browser. Web browser is must for accessing information from internet. Then after that, web browsing. What is mean by web browsing and what is mean by search engine? Okay, so hope you understood the concept, the various services. You can expect this kind of question as essay for your board examination. List and explain the various services of internet. Okay, then you want to write one question in your notebook as a homework. Explain the term web browsing and also web browser. Okay, then the remaining section, one more application is present, that is called email service. It's very familiar to you, that we will discuss in the next video. Okay, then thank you.